Hey everyone, so let's talk about the self-help industry. It's massive, right? A multi-billion-dollar world promising to unlock our absolute best selves. But what if some of these powerful life hacks aren't just simple psychological tools? A really fascinating paper by Dr. Najma Work asks a pretty bold question. When we're doing self-help, are we actually, maybe unknowingly, tapping into ancient pagan beliefs? Let's dig in.
I'm sure you've heard this one. It's everywhere. It's like the unofficial motto of modern coaching and the law of attraction. And you can see the appeal, right? It's this incredibly powerful idea that the entire world is basically yours to shape.
And then there's this one. It feels so comforting. The idea that there's some kind of friendly, cosmic force out there, just rooting for you, making sure you get what you want.
And finally, this big one. The idea that deep down inside of us there's this almost godlike power that can create, that can heal, if we just figure out the right way to use it. Now, these are all super popular, super empowering ideas. But Dr. Work's research stops and asks a really important question. Where did they actually come from?
Look, it's no secret the self-help industry is absolutely booming. Why? Because it offers something everybody wants: tools for success, for healing, for feeling like you're in control of your life. And as Dr. Work's research points out, it's become huge even in places like the Muslim world, where it's often sold as just a set of neutral, science-based techniques.
And that really brings us right to the heart of this research. Are these things just harmless psychological tools, or are they accidentally, or maybe not so accidentally, smuggling in a completely different and much older set of spiritual beliefs?
Okay, so this is where the paper's core argument gets really interesting. It suggests that a lot of these so-called New Age ideas, they're not new at all. In fact, they're just a modern-day rebranding of a very old worldview.
The research identifies this one concept as the engine behind the whole thing, Wada al-Wujud, or the oneness of being. To put it simply, it's the idea that everything is God, the creator and the creation. You, me, the stars, the universe, it's all just one single divine thing. There's no real separation.
And this is the key. The study argues that once you accept that one idea, that everything is divine, a lot of other things just logically follow. If there's no real difference between you and the creator, then it means that you have creative power. The universe isn't some separate thing you pray to. In a way, it is you. And according to the paper, that's the source code for the law of attraction. And right there, that's where we see a major collision of worldviews.
So what Dr. Work's analysis does, which is so effective, is it puts these ideas side by side. It takes these popular self-help concepts and holds them right up against the core, foundational beliefs of the Islamic faith to see where they clash.
So first up, let's tackle the first major point of conflict. Who's actually in charge here? Who's calling the shots in your life?
And this slide just lays out the tension perfectly. On one hand, you have the idea of total, absolute personal control. Your thoughts literally create your world. And on the other hand, you have the Islamic concept of qadar, or divine decree, which says, hey, you absolutely have to try your best, but the final result, that's in God's hands. The research argues these aren't just different, they're fundamentally incompatible.
And that brings us to the next big question the study dives into. Where does real power come from?
The paper makes the point that when you start describing the subconscious mind as limitless or all-powerful, you're essentially giving it attributes that belong to God. From an Islamic viewpoint, this is a huge problem. It directly bumps up against the principle of Tawheed, the absolute oneness and uniqueness of God as the only source of all power. Giving divine abilities to anything else is called shirk, and that's considered the most serious sin in Islam.
And finally, the study looks at maybe the biggest question of them all. What's next? What happens after this life is over?
So a lot of these self-help spiritualities pull from ideas like karma and reincarnation. This cyclical view where your soul keeps coming back to learn more lessons. The research contrasts this with the Islamic view, which is completely linear. You get one life, then a final judgment, and then an eternal destination. The two outlooks just couldn't be more different. So that begs the question, how did these clashing ideas get so popular and so accepted?
This is where the research gets into the how. It's usually not a straightforward sales pitch for a new religion. The study argues that it's actually a much more clever process. It's about changing the language and wrapping old ideas in the shiny packaging of modern science.
Just take a look at this table from the research. It's fascinating. It shows how familiar Islamic concepts get borrowed and twisted just enough to change their meaning. For example,
Dua, which is a humble prayer to God, gets turned into cosmic ordering, which sounds a lot more like you're placing an order with Amazon. Tawakkul, a profound trust in God, gets watered down to a vague trusting the process. The paper argues this creates a little mental bridge, making these new ideas feel familiar and a lot less threatening.
And the other part of the playbook, pseudoscience. The research points out how fancy-sounding words like quantum physics or vibrations get thrown around to make it all sound legit. And this is usually paired with promises of quick, easy fixes, a whole industry of unaccredited coaching certificates, and of course, social media echo chambers that just keep reinforcing the same message over and over. So, knowing all this, how does the paper suggest we actually navigate this stuff?
So, to wrap it all up, the study draws a very clear, very sharp line in the sand between these spiritual ideas and what we can actually call verifiable science. And the key scientific idea it brings up is the placebo effect. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a real, well-documented thing. It's when your belief in something is so strong that you start to experience real, measurable changes even if what you took was just a sugar pill. It's the power of the mind. But it's not magic.
So the paper's conclusion, backed up by other research, is that when people feel better after something like energy healing, what's most likely happening isn't the manipulation of some cosmic energy field. It's a powerful demonstration of psychological suggestion. In other words, the belief itself is the active ingredient, not the energy.
So, what's the big takeaway here? The research isn't saying never try to improve yourself. Not at all. It's making a really strong case for critical thinking. It's pushing us to ask the tough questions. Is this idea based on real science, or does it just sound scientific? Who is this coach or expert really? And are we chasing real, solid knowledge, or just a temporary feel-good illusion?
And honestly, this final quote from Dr. Work's paper just hits the nail on the head. Real knowledge, real growth, that stuff takes time, patience, and hard work. It's not some digital product you can buy with a weekend certificate that promises to unlock a magical power inside you.
And that leaves us with this one final, really important question to think about. In our very human desire to be better, to grow, and to heal, how do we know where the line is between real empowerment and a very convincing illusion? It's a question that feels more important now than maybe ever before.